Hey y'all, I just thought it'd be helpful to go through the course schedule and talk about what you can expect and when you can expect it. So this is just a deep dive into that course schedule over the next several weeks. Definitely want to encourage y'all to go through and look in detail at what's listed out in the course schedule within this module. But throughout the course, it's my goal to help you develop an understanding of the fundamentals of user interface design, or UI as we'll refer to it, and user experience design, or UX as we'll refer to it. And the course itself is called Interactive Design, which is another awesome acronym called IXD. And so we might use these terms interchangeably. When we talk about UX, it's going to be the full overarching picture of product design and interface design, interaction design, and encompasses pretty much the entirety of what you would be doing as a interaction designer or UI designer or a UX designer. A lot of different ways people describe similar roles within this industry. And we're specifically going to look at responsive web and native applications in this course for this semester. And so week one, this first week, January 12th through the 19th, is just an introductory week. We want to get to know each other and be, for myself, who have not met y'all before, get to know a little bit about you and talk a little bit about some of the traditional UI and UX deliverables that you might be doing as a UX designer, or that we're definitely going to be leveraging in this course. So we'll use this time to get acquainted with their classmates and the course materials. I definitely want to encourage you guys to just pay attention to the due dates and the timing of some of the discussion posts and responses and things like that. In this specific presentation we're doing right now, I just wanted to highlight some of the milestones, some of the big rock items that will be due. And of course, there will be discussion posts and peer reviews, critiques and things like that will be due along the way. But and that's where it's helpful to go through in detail that course material. But in this quick presentation to serve as kind of a snapshot of what we're going to be doing this semester, we'll just highlight the milestones that we'll be looking at. Project 1, we'll kick off in week 2 for Project 1, January 19th. It'll run through February 7th. And what we're going to be doing is redesigning a local website. And so if you're know anything about your local hometown businesses, they probably don't have great websites. And so we're going to look at how could we take a existing website and redesign it and think about it in a different way. And so in this project, I just want to see how you go about looking at an existing website and redesigning it. We're going to learn about some specific deliverables like mood boards and wireframing, and then building the interface itself in Adobe XD. Here's an example of a redesign of a local business that I recently did, a few years ago. My wife, I worked for this company, Kelly Spalding Designs. It's in a local, small town shop in Franklin, Tennessee. And on the left, you see her before, the existing website. After consultation and after going through these same steps, a mood board, wireframes, and then redesigning it, we ended up with what we see on the right-hand side at Kelly Spalding Designs. It's a great before and after, I think, example where the site hadn't been updated in a while, and then we took a fresh look at it. Wanted to highlight the beautiful photography and the things that she does from an interior design perspective. And so how can we do that visually through our UI design? So just an example of something that I've done in the past. To break down our milestones, week 2, we're going to be looking at choosing our business, gathering inspiration, and starting that wireframe. And we'll have mood boards due as milestone number 1. Week 3 of the course, we're going to be focusing on finalizing our wireframe and starting our prototype. And that milestone number 2 due there will be specifically focusing on the wireframes themselves. And then in week 4, the final week of this project will be peer review and finalizing that prototype. And that final prototype will be what will be due for the first project. I've tried to keep the milestones due at midnight, and so this course is asynchronous. It's you have the Tuesday, Thursday time frames to actually focus on the work. But those due dates won't be until midnight, usually falling on Sunday at midnight. There are a couple caveats throughout that, but good. You kind of put in your brain of, hey, Sunday at midnight, I might have something to do, and just definitely pay attention and look at those dates. Project number 2 will start February 9th and run through March 7th, and we're going to focus in Project 2 on an apartment finder website. There will be some requirements and some things that I'd specifically want you to take a look at once we get into the project charter and statement there. But in this project too, we'll dive a little bit deeper into understanding user flow and interaction within the experience. This project is going to focus around designing an apartment finder website, and you'll get to pick what kind of apartment you want to explore. Is it a residential? Is it a downtown? Is it a boutique apartment? Is it a high-rise apartment? Things like that. So you'll kind of be able to choose your own adventure in that. And we'll layer in some traditional UX deliverables on top of the ones we already learned about mood boards and wireframings and prototypes. And explore something called information architecture and sitemaps, and we'll dig into a little bit more about that in Project 2. And we'll begin to also explore style guides and how you can leverage design systems to build faster and to build at scale, and really set your project up for success as you begin to explore more intense sites or products as you grow in your UI UX career. Here's just an example of a couple things that I saw on a platform called Dribble that I thought was really that really spoke to me, and I thought were visually appealing, and some of the things I would be looking for an apartment finder. I'd want to see pictures of it. I'd want to see an easy way to search. I'd want to see details about the apartment itself. And so excited to see what you guys might come up with in this project. Week 5 of the course, we'll focus on kind of kicking off this project on mood boards and IA maps, information architecture. And that first milestone will be due around IA maps. Week 6 is February 15th through the 19th. There's no class February 16th, that Tuesday. And so our milestone will be due that Sunday. Milestone 2 specifically focused on wireframes, but there won't be any modules loaded for Tuesday, February 16th. Week 7 of our course, we're going to be focusing on, for Project 2, building a style guide and starting that prototype. And that style guide will be what will be due for our milestone milestone number 3. And the final week of this project, week 8 of the course, March 1st through the 5th, we'll be polishing up our prototype, peer reviewing it, and then finalizing that prototype to make our ultimate deliverable due there March 7th at midnight, Project 2 being due. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a turn here for Project 3 and focus on our user and really understand the who behind what we're designing for. Project 3 will lead into Project 4, and it'll ultimately be your part of your final there. But in this course, this project, we want to set up kind of the last big chunk of our work for success by understanding the who behind what we're designing. When you think about the terms UI and UX, the U stands for user. And so oftentimes as a designer, you might not ultimately be the end user. I've definitely been in that situation where I'm designing for a user group or demographics who I am not. And so you have to put yourself in their shoes or ask questions of those end users and ask how they might want to experience something. It might be different from how you might expect to experience it. In this project, in Project 3, we're going to be diving into understanding and building personas, conducting research, gathering information, and then laying the groundwork for our final project. And here's some examples of personas. And this is where I think as graphic design and interactive design majors, it's really exciting because all these skills that you've learned in creating posters or brochures or stamps or things like that, and your design skills within Photoshop and Illustrator and other tools can be brought into the things that you do, the deliverables you produce as a UI UX designer. Here's some examples of a couple personas that I love as examples here. Kayla on the left, it highlights her age, income, her frustrations, motivations, and always includes a picture of the person you're designing for. The one on the right I love maybe even more because somebody who's a beautiful illustrator or great at typography brought those skills into the persona and highlighted Mario, the student or the studio consultant, and created those adjectives, those words around him to let you know a little bit more about his personality, about the user that you're designing for. So I'm really excited to see what y'all bring to the table here in Project 3 from your other experiences in the graphic design program. Week 9 of the course, March 8th through the 12th. Again, it's another kind of asterisk there where we don't have classes. We won't have course material loaded for Thursday, March 11th. The university we're off that day. But in week 9, we're going to be choosing our app. So again, another choose your own adventure. There'll be different genres of apps I'd like for you to choose from. We're going to make assumptions about the types of users who might use that app and maybe what questions they might have or what they might be looking for. And we'll craft our first persona. And that's the first milestone due there, March 14th. Week 10, March 15th to the 19th, we're going to make goals for our interviews. We're actually going to be interviewing folks who fit the mold for your personas that you're building. We're going to draft a test plan. That prep work is so important, and so we're going to spend a week focusing on that. And the test plan itself will be our milestone deliverable there at midnight on the 21st. And then the final week of Project 3, week 11, we're going to be identifying the users to interview. We'll actually conduct those interviews and then finalize the research to help lay the groundwork for, again, Project 4 that we'll dig into here in a second. And that research, those findings, that's what we do for project number 3. All right, in our fourth and final project, you'll be working on bringing everything you've learned together. So all the things that we've talked about so far, mood boards, wireframes, personas, information architecture, and prototyping, we'll bring that all together into Project 4. And we're going to move quickly, but hopefully everything that you've learned along the way, we'll just be repeating the same process. And that's what I personally love about the UI UX process in interaction design and digital design, is that it's a repeatable process. And so think about all these tools as different tools in your tool belt, all these deliverables as different tools in your tool belt that you can use to craft a great experience. And so we're going to bring that all together in this final project and see how all the steps in the process build upon each other to deliver a research and tested and vetted user-based solution. And so we're going to be looking at a couple different genres. Maybe you're interested in building a pet adoption app or a grocery service app or a travel app or a car app or one of these apps genres you'll be able to choose from and actually start to build that prototype out based off your research in Project 3 from your personas and some of these new things we'll be doing here in the final project for Project 4. The first week of the project, week 12, we'll be focusing on understanding that feedback you just got from the users, identifying the areas of opportunity, and then building out an AI map, or IA map, information architecture map. That'll be our first milestone due there. Week 2 of the project, our 13th week of the course, we'll be talking about platform selection. Do you want to build this for Android apps? Or for an Android device? Do you want to build it for an Apple device? Selecting which app which platform you want to go with will create some design caveats. There are certain functions of a Android device that are different from an Apple device, and so it's important to know the platforms you're designing for, and then we'll build out some wireframes, and the wireframes will be the milestone due there in week 13. Week 14, we'll focus on building out a style guide, again, laying that visual foundation for your prototype, and then start to begin the prototype. And the first draft of that prototype will be due as our milestone there on the 18th of April. Week 15, we're going to be testing it with our users. So now that you've built a draft of your prototype, we want to put that prototype in the hands of users and say, hey, when you tap on this thing, does it do what you would expect it to do? And actually get feedback that will help us iterate and make just overall a great experience for our end user. And those, the feedback and the results of that will be due as milestone 4. We'll bring that all together in the final week heading into the finals in week 16, bringing that feedback in from our end users and finalizing the prototype. And then for the final, we'll do a final presentation. So oftentimes as designers, you're going to be put in positions to present and to show off your work and to explain the why and the how behind it. And for our final, that's what we'll focus on, a 5 to 7 minute recorded presentation that will be due for your final, bringing it all together, telling the story of interaction design and UX design. And I'll show you some examples of how you might do that along the way. All right, so that's it. That's our course for this semester. I'm super excited to be able to walk along with it alongside you. And so my hope is that at the end of this, we'll have 4 solid portfolio pieces that'll help you begin your IXD, UX, UI design journey. So let's get started, and I definitely encourage you guys to read through in detail the material. Look out for the dates, but hopefully this serves as a great overview of just some of the things we're going to be doing along the way in this course. All right, thanks y'all. Talk to you later.